What's up? Hope everyone's having a good day and is ready for another video in the series we like to call Underrated Throwers. Today we got Ricky Bruch, who I always call Ricky Brunch because I'm weird. He's a Swedish discus thrower, and yes, there are other Swedish discus throwers besides Daniel Stahl. He competed in the same era, like the 70s and 80s. Um, Alongside Mac Wilkins and John Powell. And I think he's actually very underrated, actually, for a change. I'm actually doing someone who I actually think is underrated. Um, for actual good reasons. Because a lot of people like to think in like the 70s and stuff that the three biggest names were John Powell, Mac Wilkins, and Wolfgang Schmidt. But a lot of people don't give Ricky Bruch his credit. And maybe that's because it's a wide known fact that he was roided and coked out of his mind. Literally, the first thing when I typed up Ricky Bruch on YouTube was the I think now famous documentary of Ricky Bruch, just with a whole bunch of scenes of like, think of, if you all want to just picture all the pills and all the drugs and all the world, and they put them on a desk and had Ricky Bruch sort them out for each drug in the entire world. And that was basically his diet. Speaking hyperbolically, of course. But it was, and a part of my French, a damn lot of drugs. I am about to lie. I don't know how he didn't die from the amount of drugs he was taking. If what it was showing in the documentary was accurate, no human should ever put that stuff. Like, well, you shouldn't take drugs, but especially if you are going to take drugs, that amount, hell no. I don't know how this guy must be a rhino. So that's one of the reasons why I think he's underrated. And two, and maybe I should have led with this. He's a 71-meter discus thrower and was the Swedish national record holder, I think, until Daniel Stahl came along. But he is also a bronze medalist in the Olympics. I think the 76 Olympics. I'll link his height, weight, and personal best and notable accomplishments in the video description. But yeah, I think just a lot of people don't know who he is. Like when I typed in his name to Wikipedia, the first thing that popped up in his description was, oh, he's a poet and an actor. Ain't nobody care about that. We care about discus throwing. All right? And the fact that that was the first two things that popped up, and then it said, oh, he was also a discus thrower. That alone tells me that he's underrated, honestly. The fact that a 71-meter discus thrower can just be that's just shunted aside and just be like, oh, he's a poet and an actor. First of all, the guy's been in like two movies. In like two Swedish movies. Nobody cares. If we're going to be quite honest, I care more about someone throwing 71 meters than someone being in two Swedish movies in the like 60s. All right, I don't care. All right, call me crazy. Sorry, Sweden. All right, but yeah, I care more about that. And also later in his career, he was coached by John Powell, actually, and they became pretty good friends. But before we even get into this, if you are big throwing fans and you just want to see some crazy stuff, if you want to see what it's like to watch a guy coked up and drugged out of his mind lift stuff, watch that documentary. There's he's just throwing barbells, just like breaking weight rooms. It's hilarious and crazy, and I love all of it. I'm here for it. All right, so that's why I think he's underrated. I think he deserves the respect, despite being drugged up. but it's honestly so drugged up to a comical amount that it's almost funny to me, honestly. It's almost impressive that he did. I just don't understand how he, to this day, how he's not dead. Well, okay, I think he is actually dead. I actually don't. No, I think he's dead. Um, um, which, R.I.P. But if he's not, then, keep living. But um, yeah, it's almost impressive that he did not die when he was taking all those drugs. It's actually crazy. The other thing you gotta know is that he's really tall. I think he's around like 6'7", 6'8", as you could probably see by this video, of him bent over and still being taller than this dude. And he is one of the strongest people I've ever seen in my life. Just toying with barbells. There's not a video I've seen of him lifting where he has not maxed out the barbell. So, yeah, he's just crazy strong. And the third thing you need to know about him, as you're about to see from this video, is he has some of the ugliest technique I've ever seen, which is common for most 70s throwers. But by God, he is literally the definition of someone who, if you're strong enough and athletic enough, you can get away with certain things. And I present to you Ricky Bruch. And I'm probably butchering that name. So, let's actually go over this throw. Alright. So, right off the bat, I don't like this chest down. I don't like those short arm. I like a long left arm. And again, there's gonna be a lot of stuff I'm gonna say that nowadays we would look at him throwing and just be like, wow, that guy does not know what he's doing. But then I would tell you, oh, he threw 71 meters, and you would just be like, how? And again, if you're strong and athletic enough and you hit certain positions, you can throw really, really far. And it helps that he's like 6'8". So that always helps. But he does some of the basic stuff right. And honestly, I think he could have been the world record holder. If I'm going to be quite honest, if he actually had good technique. But yeah, so let's get into it. I will say this is very typical. A lot of discus throwers in the 70s did not actually think about shifting their weight. Mac Wilkins was probably one of the only ones who actually shifted his weight to the left. If you're a right-handed thrower, which he is, a lot of them just like to just sit back. And normally now we're taught that you want this left armpit to be over this left knee, and that this is not a good position. And the reason why is because now he's not in the middle of the ring, and he lands blocked off, and he's all out of position. So then he can't get his hips all the way turned, so then he leaves the ground way too early. But we'll get into that. So, I would still like this left arm to be longer. This kicking sweep, I personally don't like. And I don't like that he doesn't have a very wide sweep either, considering how tall he is. Usually the taller you are, you want a wider sweep. Just because you have longer limbs, why wouldn't you have a longer sweep? In discus, I should say. In discus. But, yeah, he doesn't get a lot of angular momentum. He kind of jumps a little bit instead of forward. But there are a couple things I do like about this. One, I like that his left foot actually gets around fully. And he does have a little space in between his knees here. I like that he holds the chest. What I don't like, and actually I'm just seeing this now, is where his discus is. And maybe this is a remnant of being coached by John Powell, because John Powell did the exact same thing. How they didn't that how they both don't have wide sweeps, and they just go knee first. They actually don't have sweeps at all, really. They don't get any like angular momentum, or sorry, rotational momentum. For the people who don't know what angular momentum is, it's the same thing. So they just kind of just kick into the middle and really focus on getting their right butt cheek facing the sector, which I like, but I like doing it rotationally and not just throwing my hip up in the air. But hey, to each his own. I'm not a 71-meter thrower, so, and they both are, so who am I to say? But yeah, I would also like this discus to be here. So I'd like his arms to be not in where his head is. Let me actually get the straight line. I would like his arms to be here and the discus way further behind him. But right here, he catches it and it's way far behind him. And this is really where it matters. It's better to keep the discus behind, and it is behind him. Well, kinda. It's more like in line with his hips. And Christian Che kind of does this a little, where it's kind of in line with his hips, and then when he catches and his left foot lands, it's super far behind him. Obviously, I like Christian Che's throw a whole lot better than this, in terms of from a technical standpoint. Like, this kind of technique, I would equate to someone who throws really far in high school nowadays. Like, you could throw really far like this with a 1.6. Okay. If you're not, like, crazy strong. If you're crazy strong and stuff, you can throw a 2K like this and throw far, as evidenced from him and John Powell. So, you can do that. But if I did not know who this was, and I did not know they were a 71-meter thrower, I would think he's maybe like a 170-foot high school thrower. But that's about it. So make of that what you will. And I know, like, a lot of people probably watch this video. Well, not that a lot of people watch my videos anyway. But and be like, oh, he's talking trash. He's, who are you and all this stuff, and like, oh, he threw far and all that and whatnot, and oh, you're just hating. But I mean, nobody can look subjectively at this throw and just be like, oh, that looked good. I mean, like, it looks good for what he's trying to do. I mean, it gets the job done, I guess, but it's not like it's not the most efficient throw in the world. There's a reason why a lot of people don't throw like this now. In fact, I can't think of anybody that throws like this now. Except one person, Weiss Heidinger. But even him, he does not throw like this. Actually, I prefer this over Weiss Heidinger. Because, don't even get me started on him and his technique. Jesus Christ. But, yeah, so let's get back to his actual technique. So, one of the other things I actually like is here. He holds his chest really nice into the middle. I would like his head to be a little more neutral instead of facing that way. But that's just a nitpick. And then this. I actually really like this position right here. I think the discus is a little too high. But this is a product of not getting that much angular momentum and a lot of linear momentum. So you see how he kind of just kicks right here? Like toe first. And then he just throws his hip up. So that causes the discus to get its high point. But I feel like it's not like a natural high point, but it kind of is. It's super hard to explain. It's not an efficient high point, I should say. But it works for this style. For this style, you have to be super quick to throw far. Alright? So, that's just to let you know. Right off the bat. So, you're here. And this is the position. He's blocked off here. I know it's hard to tell the angle. And what I mean by blocked off is that instead of landing heel to toe or heel to heel, depending on what you coach or how you throw, he lands with the toe heel relationship. So the right toe is where it should be, but then the left heel is over here. So if he's throwing this way and this is the line, his right foot lands here and his left foot lands here. So he can't turn his hip all the way through because his left foot is blocking him. So that's what I mean by that. All right, so he's here and he drops the heel a little bit, the right heel, but not that bad. It still keeps turning. I actually really like this position, actually. I think his head is I would like his head to be a little squarer and not shooting back and having his face look at God. But because I feel like he doesn't get a lot of out on his throw and he stays too far back. And then he kind of just jumps at the release a little. Like he doesn't get a lot of forward momentum and he kind of just stops turning. I would like him to, me personally, I would like him to keep turning on the ground. And that would cause him to work over his block leg or his left leg and then get a lot more out on the disc. And I think this could have gone way further than I actually don't. This one I don't think was a 70. Oh, it doesn't say in the title. I don't know how far this throw was. I don't think this was a 71-meter throw. It could have been though. I don't know. I don't even know that's on. Oh no, it is on video. I think it's actually in the documentary I discussed earlier. But where was I? But yeah, so he just stops rotating and then kind of just hops forward, almost kind of like a glider in a way. So nowadays we know a little better. And again, this isn't a knock. Like this kind of throw is still in its infancy. Like people don't realize like the 70s was quite a long time ago. Like even in the 60s, like Al Order was one of the only people actually doing a full spin. All right, and if you don't know who Al Order is, he's a 4-time Olympic champion in like the 50s and 60s. All right, and he threw like 69 meters when he was like 50 or something. So he had a crazy long longevity. Actually, he was still competing during Ricky Bruch's era, which is kind of crazy. I've been thinking about doing a video of him, but I don't know. I don't really have too much to say about Al Order because his technique is let's just say outdated in many ways, shall we say. Much like this kind of style in many ways, but I think this can still work. So I feel like this kind of style is really good for like high schoolers who aren't the most athletic people in the world, and you just want them to just throw far, but you don't see them like going on to throw the 2K. This kind of style, unless, once again, and I cannot reiterate this, if you are super duper strong, and I mean like if you're squatting like over 700 pounds for reps, you're like split jerking like 200 plus kilos, and you're just doing like crazy stuff in the weight room, I don't think this style will work for you if you want to throw like over 60 meters. Like you can throw a 2K like 50 plus meters like this, because I've seen people throw 50 meters with a 2K with the most horrendous technique. The most important thing in discus is the release. And he gets a fantastic release. And that's really what matters, you know. So you can do everything right. And I'm a perfect example. You can do everything right. But if you just release it wrong, there goes 20 meters. So, or 10 meters or 20 meters or whatever, depending on how you release it. So, yeah. So, if you want to throw far, the release is probably the most important thing. All right? So let's get back to the video. I get sidetracked super easily. So he lands here a little blocked off because of what I said he was doing at the back. Because he didn't get a wide sweep. So they tend to land. Because another reason why you want a wider sweep is because it pulls your left leg around instead of just down. and it pulls it around and down, so then it gets into the right place, and you have a less of a chance of landing blocked off. And it gets your hips more engaged into the throw and allows you to land a little more stacked easily over your right side. And he's actually really stacked. Actually, I really like this right here. His head in line with his knees and his toe, so that's good. I actually really like the fact that he turns here and actually stays grounded. I think the discus is a little low, but again, he's following his orbit. So let's see. So his high point is not there. It's here. Where does he release it? So good. He follows his orbit. The disc is out of his hand there. So he follows his orbit. So this is actually kind of reminiscent of Gerd Kanter in many ways. This kind of position right here. In fact, this is almost picturesque of Gerd Kanter's throw from this kind of angle. Because Gerd Kanter had a really high point. But the reason why Gerd Kanter do 73 meters and not 71 meters is because he used angular momentum. Imagine that. But, yeah, so... And again, I think Gerd Kanter was actually clean. Probably one of the only clean throwers on the top 25 list. In any of the throwing events, to be completely honest. So, but again, I personally don't care about that. I just want to see people throw far. But maybe if you guys haven't watched my other videos, but I do mention my stance on drugs in sports. I personally don't care because I'm a fan and I just want to watch people throw far. Now, if I was at a world-class level and I was competing against these guys, I would probably have a different view on it. I'm not going to be completely honest. I'd be like, man, these cheating bastards. But, I'm not a world-class thrower, and I just want to watch people throw 71 meters. I don't want to watch... I mean, it's cool to watch people throw like 60 meters, but I'd rather watch someone throw 71 meters than 60 meters. To be completely honest. Call me nuts. But... I just like people throwing far. So, whatever gets you there, I guess. From a fan's perspective, at least. So, once again, I got sidetracked. So, let's actually get back to the video. So, he's here, really nice. And again, I would just like him to be a little more grounded, Actually, he's grounded pretty long. But he just doesn't get that extension and that... And, extension's not the right word. That work over the left block. So he's here. Gets an okay reverse, not bad. And fights to stay in. Barely stays in, actually. That was a pretty good save. Yeah, that was a pretty good save. And once again, you wouldn't need to save like that if he was actually in the middle of the ring instead of on this side of the ring. Because I think the middle of the ring. So let's see. So yeah, he sets. This is the middle of the ring. So yeah, he's not on the mid. He's not down the middle. So yeah, that's Ricky Bruch in a nutshell, really. And yeah, he's just an animal, honestly. There's really nothing, like, he's just the definition of an animal. Like, he's just crazy. And I love every bit of it. Now, again, I don't know if I would use him as a technical model, but if you just want to watch someone just huck something, I mean, and it go far as hell, may I present Ricky Bruch for you. And yeah, I think he deserves a little props. I mean, he's also a 20-meter shot putter, in case I failed to mention that as well. So, he's a really good dual eventer as well. And he's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. And I don't think he actually has world medals, because I don't think the World Championships was a thing until the 80s. So, you see a lot of people, and they don't actually have World Championship medals from like the 70s, and that's because the World Championships wasn't a thing, I'm pretty sure. And you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think it was established in like 86 or something like that. I'm not too familiar on that aspect of the history of that kind of stuff, but I think I'm correct in saying that. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something. We can watch his throw one more time. And yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys liked the video. And again, I'll list his personal best, height, weight, and notable accomplishments in the video description. And I'll see you all in the next time. See you later.